Welcome to Hotline 21. I'm your host, Bruce Jackson, and today we have a great show. We have a young man here by the name of David Herrera. And David Herrera is running for the 26th Ward. David, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Bruce, thanks again for having me on the show.
Thank you. And we want to. I was looking at your website, and you had some things that were lined up on the website about programs that you were bringing to the ward. And if you could just lead us into what your plans are for the 26th Ward. Just tell us what your plans are.
Yeah, Bruce, so what sets me apart from the candidates is I have a bold vision, a plan for the ward. I'm the only candidate born and raised in that community. My family's been there 62 years. So I've seen it change over the last 30 plus years. There are a lot of shortcomings, a lot of changes that we need. A lot of the ward is blighted. So I'm taking an urban planning approach to the ward. We've got a beautiful 207-acre park. Currently has a boathouse and a bird sanctuary among baseball fields and soccer fields, a lagoon, a beach. So that's kind of the playground, but I'd like to add more solar and wind technology to the park. Actually would make it Chicago's first technology park. We could solve that revenue stream. We could sell back the power back to ComEd. I've actually spoken with them, and we could create a microgrid. So that revenue stream comes back to the park, and we could subsidize after-school programs for children. So one of the programs I'm bringing, and it's actually I've already brought to Humboldt Park, is a STEAM program, which is acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. It's BTech. They just opened up a campus in Humboldt Park, and they're actually in my office. We share office space. So for them, that will be the park will be a science lab for after-school programs for the youth aged 12 to 22.
Now, I like what you're saying, and let me jump in right quick, because I want you to continue to tell me about your program. The solar park, is there a solar park around the city parts?
There are isolated, I guess, solar, privately owned solar fields. Mm-hmm. But this would essentially, we have a 207-acre park. It's the second largest park on the north side of Chicago behind Lincoln Park. So I guess, first thing I'm doing with the day I get in an office is I'm going to call Elon Musk and say, hey, I want to get some of your rooftop solar tiling. And we have got a beautiful field house and a boathouse, and why not make that a green energy park and allow the youth to kind of learn through that process.
Now, what type of jobs, when you do this solar, what type of jobs would it generate?
So I think first and foremost, it would most likely be for academics. Mm-hmm. There will be jobs in terms of the infrastructure improvements to the park. Currently, the ward has 4 TIF districts directly in it, and a few more surrounding it. So the total TIF districts in total have over $50 million. So this is money that we would tap into for infrastructure. Maybe we can find a corporate partner who would want to sponsor this and subsidize the cost for the green energy. And on top of that, the alderman gets $1.3 million a year of menu money, which could be used for infrastructure improvements.
Great. Now, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want you to continue telling me more about your program that you're planning to bring to the 26th Ward as alderman.
Yeah, so the program's already there. We just brought it a month ago. And BTech, if you kind of look them up online, they're actually starting a radio station. So it'll be an online radio station for the youth. Now, keep in mind, these are predominantly high school students. Mm-hmm. So they're getting exposure right now to film technology. They get internship apprenticeships at the CineSpace off of Roosevelt and Ogden, where the Ryerson aluminum factory was at. That's where they filmed Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. And so the youth, they get real world, they're on the studio, they're on the set, and they get real world experience, and they're also able to develop real world skills. This is very important because we want to, college isn't for everyone, right? And the other thing is that there's a burden entry for college. So, because the cost is very high. So this equips, I think we need to bring back some of these technology schools. And those are the jobs of the future. So we want to equip the youth to compete in the jobs of tomorrow. That could be learning how to fly a drone, right? We've got a large park there. So some of that, flying a kite, well, the technology's changed over time, so.
Okay, now, with these tech jobs, say you get in first year, how long it takes to get these tech jobs up and running?
Well, part of my platform is job creation. So what we're doing is I have multiple, my platform, it's on my website. I have about 5 to 7 overarching goals. One of them is job creation. The job creation is really, if you look at the ward map, we're surrounded by a lot of what used to be manufacturing from 30, 50 years ago. And so as the economy has shifted due to globalization and outsourcing, a lot of those manufacturing jobs are not in Chicago anymore. We used to be a powerhouse. Now I think the ward, it could be a blessing or a curse, right? So right now there's a lot of blight. But my thing is to create economic empowerment zones where those warehousing districts are. Because what happens is in an affluent neighborhood, you take a warehouse and it gets converted into loft apartments. In a less desirable neighborhood where no one wants to live, it's just blight. And so it's underutilized. A lot of these factories are vacant. So we can create, the thing with Chicago is it was master planned after the Chicago fire. We've got a beautiful boulevard system, which we've benefited in Humboldt Park. It was an emerald necklace around the city. That's the Daniel Burnham plan of 1912. So we're taking the canvas that we already have, and we need, to target economic empowerment zones. We could create opportunity zones. And that's part of it. When I get into City Hall, we need that because the city and the state lag the national averages. Illinois lags most states in job growth. Same thing the city lags most major cities in job creation. And so that's kind of what we've got to do in our backyards.
Okay, along the same vein of job creation, I have a question for you. What other incentives will you offer citizens in your ward starting out in business?
Yeah, so part of an economic empowerment zone, there is a tax abatement when you're, let's say you're a business and you're going to buy supplies for your business. There's a tax abatement there. There's also a tax abatement when you're selling things. So essentially, it's like duty free, going to a duty free store. So it creates commerce in your backyard. Additionally, there is a tax credit for hiring local for $3,000 a year per employee. So that will create jobs in our backyard. And the thing is, we need sustainable communities. We need job growth because people do leave. People have left the state of Illinois due to high tax environment and also a slack in the labor market.
Okay.
So a sustainable community for me is, you're able to work there, you're able to live there, and also play there. We've got a gorgeous park.
Okay, great. Let me ask you this question here, because this is something that's happening in every community in the ward. What employment programs do you have for ex-offenders returning back to your ward? What type of employment can you offer them?
Well, the jobs would be available to everyone. We would host job fairs. We would also host business workshops. The day I get in, I plan on hosting, calling all the local businesses and saying, hey, this is my plan. I need you all on board. And so there aren't any surprises. You eliminate a lot of the political risk by being transparent. So the thing, unfortunately, the system, there is systemic issues with discriminating against ex-offenders. The way I see it is that, they've already paid their debt to society, and, keeping with the spirit of Christianity, I mean, it should be absolved. I mean, their past should be absolved. I mean, they've already paid their time, so.
Okay, thank you. What we're going to do now, we're going to go to Chicago schools and talk about what your program entails in terms of improving the Chicago schools. The first question I'd like to offer you is, where would you get the money to develop our schools?
So, yeah, that's a great question. And I'm a finance guy, economics and finance degrees, and I've worked in the corporate space, mainly with kind of money management. And so I had a TIF seminar last week, and we had Tom Tresser, who's a TIF guru of the city of Chicago. And I think most voters would be very surprised to see how much money is really going into TIF. Last year alone, all TIFs in Chicago collected $660 million. So a third of every tax dollar is going into TIFs. Now, they're depriving our communities of revenue for city services. So what happens is when TIF districts are created, they were created to last 23 years. It's a full generation, and they've kept the revenue at the base rate. And so any incremental change, there's an increase in cost of those services. So we're not even getting the inflation-adjusted revenue coming back to the city.
Pause you for 1 second. Caller, you're on the air. Statement or comment?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
I would like to know if Mr. Herrera has a plan to create affordable housing in the 26th ward.
Okay, you want to answer that?
Yeah. My plan's very diverse, and housing is another pillar of my agenda. So we need to have mixed policy approaches. So we will build affordable with market rate. My understanding is that there's 30 parcels of land that is city-owned within the ward. So right away we're going to develop those, and those lots will be for affordable housing. Now, when we have private investment coming into the ward, my target, and I've been transparent about this, and this is I received the Tribune endorsement, Chicago Tribune. My response was targeting essentially like a 80-20 approach. I think we can do 25-75, but you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So that would be my goal.
Thank you, caller.
So we would bring both, and what we want are diverse communities, and that would provide housing for.
I have another question for you, Herrera. How would you include parents in the education process in the schools in the 26th ward?
Yeah, so I'm for essentially a hybrid approach to the elected school board. And so what we need to do is with this existing city council, the school councils and city council and the mayoral, we can do a third of each to create a hybrid school board. And so that would give the incentive for people to be, for parents to be more involved in the schools, because they will have a vote, they'll have a say on the board.
Okay. I have another question for you. We're still in the category of schools in the ward. How would you guarantee the students of the 26th ward that they will have state-of-the-art equipment in their schools?
Well, I played clarinet for 4 years in high school. I'm an advocate for the arts. I'm an advocate for after-school programs. I was fortunate enough to have those via athletics growing up. So I'm a musician myself. I love jazz. I love the arts. And we're often told that funding is an issue, but what I'm saying is that a third of our future tax dollars is going to the TIF account. So what we need is TIF reform. I'm proposing that we drain half. There was $1.5 billion there as of this last year.
1.5 billion?
Billion, just kind of sitting there. So, and meanwhile, we're raising our taxes. We're raising your taxes and people's taxes. People are leaving the city. So I'm proposing draining half of that money, put it back in for infrastructure improvements. Some of that could be school, some of that could be replacing the lead pipes in the city, and then going forward, see right now 100% of that, the money in the tax revenue goes into the TIF districts. 100% of that incremental increase in taxes. Now the thing is, that's a lot. Why don't we cut it down to 50-50? So at least half the money comes back to the city fund for city services like education, and from that we can fund the arts at our local schools.
Let me ask you this question here. Still on the same vein, I want to get more to you in other issues that we have, but I'm going to ask you this other question about schools. How would you get more people to become teachers? Because we have a shortage of teachers, and that's all around the city. But how would you get more teachers to become teachers in the 26th ward?
Well, in the 26th ward, we had 3 grade schools shut down under the incumbent about 3 to 4 years ago. So we had a lot of schools closed and shuttered. So I'm for a charter school moratorium. We need to work with the existing assets and that the city owns. We do have a shortage of police officers too. The retirement rate, the attrition rate.
Okay, I'm going to pause you 1 second. Caller, statement or comment, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Hi, I am wondering how Mr. Herrera feels about the homeless situation in Humboldt Park. I saw that Alderman Maldonado gave the homeless people tents to live in, but I don't really feel like that's a great solution. So does he have a fix?
You want to answer?
Yeah. So I was on the board for junior board for Breakthrough Urban Ministries, and Breakthrough at the time when I was on the board provided housing for 100 homeless, 50 males, 50 females. Now we need to partner with local community groups like the churches or homeless ministries, and we need to provide them funds. My response to my TIF reform response, it's on my website, to the Sun-Times and to the Tribune, was that I would like to see 50% draining of the $1.5 billion fund and 10% of that go to provide housing for the homeless. We need compassion, and we need a system to get people back on their feet. So we provide them housing, and then we need to create job fairs. We need to invite employers and say, hey, and bring the job. So one of my solutions is a lot of the warming centers, I just found out during the polar vortex, they close after 5 p.m. So it's freezing cold, and so my proposal is the large boulevard system that we have, the large Humboldt Park would be one of the parks. They should be 24 hours open, and what we can do is we can create a job fair. We call employers to come in, so get them housing and then get them a pathway to sustainability through jobs.
Okay, I got to get a question in, because here at the Gift House, we're really big. We're actually a health show, and we're really big on health. So I got actually a question about health. Homeless individuals who need health care, as the alderman of the 26th ward, what is your plan of action to bring health care to people in your ward who are homeless?
Yeah, so currently I actually just found this out, is the city only has one intensive outpatient intensive care hospital, which is Mount Sinai on Ogden in the middle of the city. So they're the ones that are tasked with dealing with the homeless. Now we do have Norwegian Hospital is right in our backyard. They have a lot of property, a beautiful campus neighboring the park. So my proposal is to create more of these outpatient intensive units that will handle those calls citywide.
Okay. One other question in healthcare.
So part of the tech platform is the children who are in B-Tech. They're learning film tech right now. We're going to do food technology and also health tech. So having Norwegian Hospital next to Humboldt Park is a very big asset. And so our youth will have a diverse range of skill sets that they can build.
Tell me about health tech.
Well, things are, the technology's changing, different devices. We've got a hospital there that they can work.
Caller, you on the air? Statement or comment? Caller, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, Gator. How are you, sir?
I'm good. And yourself?
That's good to hear. I just had to call and send him my congratulations. Keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Reverend Davis calling from Sausalito, California. And
Th-
of course, you know my home and my love is there in Chicago.
all right.
I appreciate you and the work you're doing, brother. Keep
Thank
it
you.
up.
Thank you so much.
I'll
Let
get
me
off
ask you
there and
this
let
question.
somebody come.
Mental illness in the city, how would you deal with this problem as in your ward? How would you deal with mental illness? Because they've shut down a lot of the mental illness facilities.
Yeah, so the NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Illness, they already have a plan. It's already there. The problem is the funding. Where are we going to get the funding from? Now, I anticipate that the legalization of recreational marijuana will get approved. It's got broad support across City Council, also the Governor, J.B. Pritzker. So what we need to do is earmark percentage, whatever that percentage is, from those new revenues to fund and finance support these programs for the mentally ill. So.
Okay, I have another question for you. And in terms of business, would solar energy be a part of the public education in your ward?
Yeah, it should be. We've got a great park in the middle of the ward, and I would anticipate that the public schools would have field trips there. And we could create the programs for, call it the vendors that do the solar installs. Why not? Why not have field trips at the park? Why not have the vendors visit the schools and teach students of these new technologies? So.
Now, I'm going to ask you just a question before we run out of time. In terms of, we covered schools, we covered business, we're going to talk about something that is really plaguing the city. How would you stop violence in your schools?
That's a great question. I mean, I think we need strong networks within the community and with the families. And the after-school programs is part of that. Sense of belonging for the children, so they do not feel that they're being left behind. We've got a call coming in.
We've got a call coming in. Caller, you on the air?
Yes, hello, Mr. Herrera. I am very happy to see that you are running in this race against Alderman Maldonado, because I think that he's one of the ones in this city that needs to go. And I actually live on a ward boundary where the 26th ward is right across the street from me. And Alderman Maldonado, without any community input whatsoever, took 6 vacant pieces of city land and sold it to his buddy for $6. $3 million worth of land sold for $6. And so he ignores most of the people in his ward, doesn't allow us to be involved in the decisions. So I'm wondering, what will you do different in the ward if you become alderman?
Yeah, so part of my platform is transparency. We do need input. I'm going to create a community-based organization. We're going to do participatory budgeting. So the $1.3 million that comes in every year, we're going to have meetings. We're going to have frequent town hall meetings. Additionally, just real quick, there was a special district that the Maldonado was trying to run through. And the thing is, for zoning or for like a liquor license, if you want a liquor license, you're supposed to send a letter to every residence 250 feet away. Well, there was no community input for that decision.
They're telling us to wrap it up, so what I'm going to do is I want you to talk to the public and tell them why they should vote for you for the next alderman for the 26th ward.
Yeah, look at all three. I have tangible solutions. I have a bold platform. It includes bringing a train station at North Avenue in Hamlin. That's a transportation desert. It includes bringing a grocery store. We don't even have a grocery store in the ward. It includes creating empowerment zones. It includes bringing technology programs for after school. And that's what creates a thriving community.
Okay, thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. Good night.